This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey everybody, it is the After Party Live. Thank you for hanging out and being here. Really interesting stories today. One I have toward the end of the show, but I kind of want to bump it up because it's just so creepy that I have to show you the picture right now. Right now at this very moment. We'll be talking about it later in the show. Check this out. Yeah. It's new skin for robots. We'll be talking about that. Oh, also, this Maserati boat. We'll be talking about that a little later in the show as well. Hope your summer's going really well. I have to tell you, on the personal note over at this house, we're playing hurt over here. I have two kids home for school, for the summer from school. Both have begun summer with injuries. So Jacob, we're waiting for my daughter the other day in front of the high school because she had drumline camp at the school. And he is doing a little jogging around the front, and he trips and falls and tears his knee open. So we go to the emergency room. He gets 6 stitches in his knee. And then a couple of days ago, Julia was horseback riding and fell off of the horse that she was on and hit her tailbone. So she's kind of walking around like an old woman here. It's rough. It's a rough start to the summer, but hopefully we'll finish it well. Hopefully your summer is going a little better. And you're having fun out there. It's heating up. We're going to have another nice hot weekend. Let's start though with this update on this story. Yeah. This is that house in Hawaii. Remember we talked about this house? This lady bought this plot of land in Hawaii, and it was like the perfect plot of land. She's into numerology, and it was like the longitude and latitude and the address and everything lined up that this was her lucky plot of land that she was going to buy. I have forgotten to ask you to please click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the After Party Live as well. Thank you. Oh, and you know what? Before we really launch into this story, let me also start the show by thanking Wes, who is throwing me a $5 super sticker. Thank you, Wes. You're awesome. I really appreciate the way you step up to support this crowdfunded show and help keep me in business over here. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. All right, back to Hawaii. Here we go. So this lady buys this plot of land, and she lives in the Bay Area. She's here. I think she's in Concord. And they find this land, and she's like, I'm going to buy this land because it's perfect for me. Well, not somebody, we know who, built a house on her plot of land. It's a developer, a local developer on the Big Island of Hawaii. Mistakes her plot of land for another plot of land in this cul-de-sac area and built a house on her land. And then they have the audacity to want her to flip plots with them because they screwed up. And then they want her to pay money for this house. And then, everything but accepting responsibility. So they go to court. And the judge says this home that was mistakenly built on this woman's land on the Big Island has to be torn down. Get it out of there. See, if I was the company that built the house, I would just say, you know what? We are so sorry. We apologize that we trespassed on your land and put up this house that you might not have wanted. If you want to keep it, it's yours, right? It'll cost them more money to tear it down probably than if they just walked away from it. I would have said, hey, we're sorry. Why don't you go ahead and keep the house? If you'd like us to take it down, we will. Give her the option. The courts, though, said this was not an instance of a minor encroachment. An entire house was built on lot 114 instead of on lot 115. And, in addition to that, the judge dismissed a counterclaim that the developer had made against Reynolds and might even allow further damages to this woman who lives here in the Bay Area in Concord. So again, she said she bought this acre of land in Hawaii Paradise Park in 2018, and her intent was that she was going to build a healing retreat there someday. But the pandemic delayed her plans, and then she gets a phone call last year hey, there's a house on your land. And, oh, by the way, we sold the house. Wait a minute, what? She said, I felt like I wanted to cry. There's a house on my land and it's not mine. So the problem, according to the developer, was they miscounted telephone poles. That's how they were figuring out which plot was which. And this is how this led to this problem. It was a rudimentary method and it was a failed method. The developer is Kiao Development Partnership and builders PJ Construction. And apparently the construction team didn't properly count the phone poles and they went to the wrong plot of land. He told the court, we counted out the lots using the phone poles, but we built the home on the wrong side of the telephone pole. Oopsies. And they even missed the county of Hawaii, when they issued permits for the wrong lot. I mean, it's like this, what are they, comedy of errors, they call it? Like, everything went wrong that could go wrong. The inspectors from the department went out to lot 114 at least 3 times to approve the plumbing, electrical, and the building. Everything. And the only time they realized that there was a mistake here was toward the end of the sale of the property, when the title company was trying to close escrow on the home. It was listed for just under $5 million. Can you believe that? The discovery nullified the sale by the developer because they never owned the land in the first place. And then squatters moved into this empty house. And it was gross in there. There was feces in that house that, where it wasn't supposed to be. And then, to make matters worse, the developer sues this woman for being unjustly enriched by the construction of the home on her land. I mean, really? They make a mistake and try to sue her, right? The developer's lawyer told SF Gate that she was trying to take advantage of the developer's mistake, as I think is her right. That the development company is the only person that has suffered hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of losses in this. Your mistake, pal. They said that she was trying to exploit the situation to get more money. Her land, you screwed up. So now they've got an independent contractor, unattached to the development company or to the construction company, set to go out to this house in Paradise Park on the Big Island. The demolition will be paid for by the construction company. And this woman was also awarded about $34,000 in attorney's fees as well. She could seek more damages at a later date in this case. And they say that there was clear motivation by the construction company and by the developer to cut corners to reduce costs. And the judge said the encroachment of lot 114 was so great that the court finds it has caused the complete destruction of Ms. Reynolds' estate as it had been originally held and enjoyed. Take the house down, get out. So that's what it is. That's how it's ending up. Interesting. I thought of this story. I thought this was an interesting story as well. Check this out. If you think about it, there really aren't a lot of blue animals in the world. And it turns out they're rare in nature for a reason. They have these, if you see a blue creature, it's a genetic mutation that, according to an article in Popular Science, plays tricks with physics. A lot of us love the color blue, but we don't see it a lot when it comes to plants, when it comes to animals. And according to research done at the University of Adelaide in Australia, it's because a true blue color pigment really does not exist in nature. The organisms that appear blue have to absorb very small amounts of energy while reflecting high energy blue light. And according to these scientists, since penetrating the molecules that are capable of absorbing this energy is a very complicated process, this is why the color blue is less common than other colors in the natural world. It doesn't mean it's totally absent. And some animals can perform tricks to appear blue, chameleons changing colors. But here's some of the animals that are blue. First of all, you see this blue lobster. 1 in 2 million lobsters are blue. So it's pretty rare that you would see a blue lobster. It happens, but it's rare. This is a blue tarantula, the electric blue tarantula. The scientists in Thailand in 2023 discovered this electric blue tarantula. They live in a bunch of habitats, trees, hollows of mangrove forests, burrowing into the ground. The color comes from the unique structure of their hair, not from a presence of blue pigment. The hair features nanostructures that manipulate the light that shines on them that stimulates their signature blue look. The hairs can also, they say, display a more violet hue depending on the amount of light present, and that makes them look a little bit iridescent. So there you go. What about the cicadas? Now, in this case, usually you see the cicada. Usually you see the cicada and they have red eyes. Oh, this one has blue eyes. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. A family in Chicago, when they were looking at the cicadas from this rare double brood cicada apocalypse that happened, instead of the bright red distinctive eyeballs that most of them have, this female had a pair of blue eyes. And this eye color is a result of a 1 in 1 million genetic mutation. How interesting is that? The blue-eyed cicadas are short-lived. This one has already died. But they're rare. They're very, very rare. And so now the geneticists are trying to look into this to figure more out about the genetic mutation that caused this. What about, here's another one. We don't see them very often, but they're around. The blue bee. Yeah. Big blue bees. They are blue carpenter bees. They live in Southeast Asia, India, southern China. They're about 1 inch long, but they're not very aggressive. They like to live alone and not in busy hives. They are called the cerulean hue of these bees, make them a popular species to collect if you're a bug collector. So very interesting. They also go on to talk about plants and blue plants. And the one they list is the blue hydrangea. And I would argue that most people that have blue hydrangeas put a dye on their plants to make the flowers blue. So I don't necessarily know if that happens. But the scientists say that the primary reason for a lack of blue leaves in plants is the physics of light. The pigments appear the same color as the light they reflect. And because the most common plant pigment is green chlorophyll, plants look green because chlorophyll reflects rather than absorbs green light. The blue light has more energy than any other color on the visible of light on the visible spectrum. So blue leaves mean that the plant is reflecting high energy light and using poorer quality light that limits growth. So interesting. There's a reason we don't see blue in nature very often. 2 animals now. How about this one? This is a story out of Missouri where apparently there's a gator on the loose in this Missouri lake. Residents are being warned to keep their distance from this alligator at the Bonne Terre Lake. It was reported in there it's about 20 inches long, but witnesses said no, it's closer to about 3 feet. It's 3 feet long, so it's just a small one. It's not believed to be aggressive, but residents are being warned, don't approach it, don't try to capture it. We'll take care of this. They think it was a pet that was abandoned or maybe that escaped its owner and then made its way to the lake somehow. It is legal to keep a gator as a pet in Missouri, but you've got to register it with the state if it's over 8 feet long. So I guess you can have an alligator, which is so weird, but okay. I guess people want an alligator. So now don't go swimming in that lake. If they don't catch it, it's probably just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in there. I don't know. If there's only one of them, at least maybe they can't reproduce. So this is kind of a one-off? I don't know. How cute is this little creature? In San Diego, they're celebrating the birth of this baby female Baird's tapir. Yeah, he's a cutie. Check this report out. Let's go. Here it is. Oops. Nope, I screwed that up, didn't I? Hold on. I'll get it right. It's worth it. He's cute. Oh, I've disappeared for a moment. So they have the Zoological Society of San Diego, and they are releasing information about this little one just born. It's a Baird's tapir. Look at the markings on that creature. How cute. Adorable. So this little one is in San Diego, brand new to the world. Welcome aboard, young one. And they're celebrating because this is an endangered species, this Baird's tapir. The zoo said this calf was born to Mother Luna and is now on display in the exhibit right alongside the capybaras in the Elephant Odyssey section of the San Diego Zoo. The mother is bonding with her calf by licking her, keeping a close eye on her at all times in this area. So, throw that video up at you again. The birth is being called a milestone for conservation efforts for the Baird's tapir, which is listed as an endangered species on the International Union for Conservation Nature Red List of Threatened Species. These animals are threatened by sport hunting in Costa Rica and habitat loss due to farming, cattle grazing, and palm oil and rubber plantations as well. So it's nice to see one so endangered born in the San Diego Zoo. Keep them safe and keep them living. And how cute! How cute. I guess she's doing a lot of zooming. She's running around, she's grooming, they're nursing, they're playing together. So really sweet in San Diego. Nice. Love to see that. Can we talk for a moment about the oopsies with this sign? Think you spelled something wrong. Oops, that's not quite right. Yeah. This is a story out of Philadelphia where the Department of Transportation misspelled the word central, and it's what is centertal? They're apologizing for this highway sign that misspelled the word central. The drivers were the first to notice the oops on this sign off of I-95 that read Centertolfilla. And then this sign went viral all over the place. The Department of Transportation said, "We were so focused on getting this done and reopening the 95 Cotman ramp that we just moved a little too quickly and we forgot to proofread. Sorry, Philadelphia." That's from the Philadelphia Department of Transportation. At least they have a sense of humor about it, right? We'll forgive you. I know this is a little wacky of a picture, but the first bird flu vaccines are going to be administered. It's happening in Finland. And I put this picture up because it was honestly better than the pictures of the minks in cages. Finland is going to become the world's first nation to administer the bird flu vaccine starting next week. And they're trying to prevent the onset of bird flu. So the first to get it will be workers who are exposed to animals. And then they're going to start with people on mink farms. The vaccine will be offered to those age 18 and over who are at increased risk of contracting the avian influenza because of their work or because of other circumstances. Finland bought enough vaccines to use on 10,000 people. You need 2 injections of this. It's part of an allotment of up to 40 million doses bought by the European Union from Australian vaccine maker CSL Seqirus. So they first are getting 665,000 doses, the European Union, and then over the next 4 years, they'll get the rest of them. And we know, even here where I live in Petaluma, sickness, unlikely bird flu, is responsible for the deaths of millions of birds. Here in Petaluma, they just had to destroy them. It's so sad. The bird flu is spreading throughout the United States. One incident, I think in Mexico, of one person contracting it and passing away. A couple other animal workers have been sickened, but they've been okay. Now, in Finland, they haven't had any citizens or visitors test positive for bird flu. But they do have this fur farming operation at the mink farm, and they think that's a very high risk of bird flu from the animal to the people. So the fur farms, they say, are especially vulnerable to bird flu due to fur-bearing animals having frequent contact with wildlife. Last year in Finland, they killed 485,000 animals to stop the bird flu from spreading and possibly infecting humans. And now they have this vaccine. So, there you go. They have done something in the United States that this pleases me. Anytime you can get vapes out of the hands of people, cigarettes, especially things that hurt people, and I think this would qualify, I think it's a good day. So the vaping pens came from China. There are more than $1 million worth of these illegal vaping pens. They're now confiscated. They got them. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection and the FDA working together, in Chicago seized 53,700 electronic nicotine delivery systems or vape pens from China worth $1.08 million. The FDA created this multi-agency task force to fight the illegal distribution and sale of e-cigarettes. And they determined this cargo from China was unlawful. It was headed for a wholesaler in Mississippi. There were 179 boxes falsely labeled as electronic atomizers, which I guess smugglers do this all the time. They mislabel the boxes. It's like kind of right, but not really. According to the Customs and Border Protection, officers, they say, are dedicated to identifying and intercepting these types of shipments that could potentially harm the health and well-being of people within our communities. They say the trade enforcement mission places a significant emphasis on intercepting illicit products that could harm American consumers, and that they will continue to work with consumer product safety partners to identify and seize unsafe and illicit goods. So more than $1 million worth of these things gone. Not going to be sold in Mississippi or anywhere else. Thank goodness. Get it all. Get it all away. Ready for the lotto of the day? I am. These people are so lucky. I don't even know how this is possible, but we've seen stories like this before. This Maryland man won $26,748 from a racetrack's virtual horse racing game more than a decade after he'd scored $100,000 from a scratch-off lottery ticket. So it's his second big win. He told the lottery officials in Maryland he kept playing lottery games after his $100,000 win more than 10 years ago, but he said he never really expected to collect another big prize. He said, I just assumed I'd enjoyed my share of lottery luck, more than my share. He said, I still play because I enjoy it, and I still win sometimes. So he said collecting several regular-sized prizes over the years really didn't prepare him for the results of his $4.80 superfecta box wager that he put on this racetracks game at Hartford Mart in Baltimore, Maryland. His virtual horses crossed the line together. He said, when my horses came in, I couldn't believe it. I've been playing that combination for months now. Something about it, he said, just felt right. He said, I kept my cool when I saw the results. I didn't break, but it was really hard and it was really exciting. He's going to use that $26,748.60 prize to pay off some bills. So I'm telling you, some of us don't have any luck. Some of us keep winning over and over again. There's another health story about the new test that's being developed for the flu. And after the COVID test came out, where, you can take a COVID test and within, 5 minutes or so, the result of whether or not you have COVID. Well, the thinking was, why can't we do this with the flu? We need to do this with the flu. And so this is being developed. This flu test, it's a simple paper strip test that could spot the flu and even identify which strain you have. It can distinguish between influenza A and B, which are, we know, the two types of main seasonal flu, and it can identify more virulent strains like H1N1, H3N2. The study published in the Journal of Molecular Diagnostics in the July issue. And the researchers say they have this goal. What they want to do is create a fast, accurate, cheap test that can improve outbreak response and infection care around the world. Same thing with COVID. If you know you have it, you're not going to go out and spread it around. Although I've seen people that know they have COVID and they're still going out acting like nothing's happening. But the researchers say, regardless of how people act poorly, ultimately they hope these tests will be as simple as rapid antigen tests used to test for COVID, right? The test uses genetically engineered enzymes to identify species of specific sequences of viral RNA in samples. It's the same technology first used to test for COVID and later used to distinguish between the Delta and Omicron variants of COVID as well. So the team started looking at this in 2022, adapting these COVID tests to detect the influenza virus. And they wanted to make this screening tool that could be used in the field, like out at our houses, in clinics, rather than the hospitals or high-tech diagnostic labs. So it's available to everyone. Using a paper strip readout instead of expensive fluorescence machinery, they say it's a really big advancement, not only in terms of clinical care, but for epidemiological purposes as well. The test would be able to be conducted at room temperature, done within 90 minutes. They're trying to get that down to 15 minutes. And being able to also distinguish between the different flu strains, they say, could help doctors identify the strains that resist antiviral treatments, and that's a big deal. So, yeah, pretty soon, they're working on it. We may be able to have a flu test along with our COVID test, figure out exactly what's going on with us. I know we saw this story earlier with It's the Planet Stupid and Belinda Weymouth, but if you missed it, they're having a bit of trouble with this wax statue of Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, got really, really hot. And Abe melted, unfortunately. This heat wave took down this wax effigy of President Lincoln. Temperatures were really hot in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. The head went first. You can see he's now headless. Then one of his legs dripped off of his torso. And then a foot turned into kind of a blob, you can see there. The chair sank into the ground as well. The head from this wax sculpture, 6-foot wax sculpture of the Lincoln Memorial, is now under repair. The memorial is on the Camp Barker in Washington, D.C., which is a Civil War-era refugee camp that housed formerly enslaved and freed African Americans. It's now home to an elementary school. It was put outside of Garrison Elementary as part of the Wax Monument series by a Virginia-based artist. And it's more than just a wax statue, it's also a candle. And this is not the first time this statue has had issues with melting. Last September, it had 100 wicks on it that were prematurely lit. And so a big portion of it melted before a dedication ceremony was held. So the new version that was put in last year had many fewer wicks and they were strategically placed. If you light it, you're supposed to blow out the wick within 1 to 2 minutes so the whole thing doesn't go down. They're supposed to reattach a new wax head this weekend, so we'll see. The Wax Monument series includes wax replicas of popular public monuments or cultural symbols, and it's kind of a cool art installation and piece. A story about fertility. Cute little baby feet, look at that. There's a fertility crisis, apparently, and I'm kind of at odds with this story because of being told for so many years we're overpopulated, right? There's too many people in the world. You shouldn't have large families. It's responsible to maybe only replace yourself if you're going to have children. Don't, add to the world's issues by throwing more and more people into it. Well, now we have this fertility crisis, and according to CNN Business, it's going to permanently alter the economy. So what is it? Do we have too many people, or do we not have enough people? Well, according to this story, falling fertility rates have been a concern for a long time for economists worried that aging societies could mean we don't have as much of a labor force. And that could mean more inflation. It could upend our consumer culture and overwhelm government programs meant to care for aging populations, because there's no young people to care for the old people. There's been a new study done by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They say that declining birth rates will permanently alter the demographic makeup of the world's largest economies over the next decade. If forecasts hold up, as they have been, 2064 will be the first year in modern history where the global death rate surpasses the birth rate. More people will die than are born in 2064. It's like a sci-fi movie, isn't it? Can you see the plot? They're already there, though. According to this article, the world's largest economies are already dealing with the total fertility rate among the 38 member countries in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They just dropped to 1.5 children per woman in 2022, down from 3.3 children in 1960. And that's well below the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman needed to keep the populations constant. And it means, they say, that the supply of workers in many countries is diminishing. In the 1960s, there were 6 people working age for every retired person. So everybody retires, there's 6 people coming in to replace you. That according to the World Economic Forum. Today, it's closer to 3 workers for every person who retires. By 2035, it's expected to be 2 to 1. And we're going down, and we're going down. Now, we know we have a labor shortage in the United States, too. So, is it fertility that's causing this problem? This reduction in the share of workers can lead to labor shortages, which could also raise the bargaining power of employees and lift wages, all of which is ultimately inflationary, according to the managing director at BlackRock, Simona Parvani-Mellinghoff, who's talking to CNN Business. And they say that net immigration is helping offset demographic problems, which is so interesting because we fight so hard against immigration, and that could be the thing that saves our economy. They say this is critical, immigration, because it implies advanced economies may start to struggle to import labor from places either via migration or sourcing goods. By 2100, only 6 countries are expected to be having enough children to keep their population stable. They are Africa's Chad, Niger, Somalia, the Pacific islands of Samoa, and Tonga and Tajikistan. Those are the 6. That's it. We better start having babies. Elon Musk mentioned in this article as well. He has 12 kids, Elon. He says, falling birth rates will lead to a civilization that ends not with a bang, but with a whimper in adult diapers. And while he's saying it in an ugly kind of way, he might not be completely wrong about that. In France, the president, Emmanuel Macron, is announcing a plan for demographic rearmament through fertility testing, giving people more parental leave. Trump says if he's reelected, he'll support baby bonuses for a new baby boom in the United States. Speaking of the U.S., CDC says the U.S. birth rate in 2023 fell to a record low. So we had a bit of an uptick during the pandemic because people were home getting busy. But now the Congressional Budget Office is predicting deaths will outnumber births in the United States just 15 years from now. There you have it. And these are the findings that are kind of supporting the forecast and the budget projections in the Congressional Budget Office. What you're seeing is increased spendings on programs like Medicare and Social Security as the baby boomers age into these programs, and then there will be fewer number of workers relative to the number of people who are receiving these benefits. So it's a big problem. Without intervention, Social Security Trust Fund will be depleted by the mid-2030s. So maybe not all of us are going to get the payout there at the end. Anyway, it's interesting because, again, you have so much discussion on overpopulation, and now with fertility issues and people deciding to wait longer or maybe not have kids at all, which, hey, I have zero problem with a life choice that you're going to make. But now they're saying, wait a minute, we need you to have babies. So what is it? Heather says we don't need more people. That's what I thought, right? I mean, weren't we told the world's overpopulated? Look at all the drain on resources and the environment. Come on. Trump wants a baby boom. I know. Yeah, and what kind of babies are we looking at having, right? I don't know. It's just, I'm confused. So I don't know. Sandy says, I see people with babies and small children everywhere. Heather says, if the birth rate doesn't fall and we keep cranking out people like we have been in the last century or so, we'll deplete the resources so much that we still have the problems with inflation and such. Right. Sandy says, there's too many people in the world already. We need to encourage people to have fewer kids. Mindy says, forcing women to be baby makers again. We need more robots. Walter blames the plastic in his testicles. Yeah, maybe not your testicles. Testicles in general. Speaking of movies, watch Children of Men. Is that the movie that I'm thinking of where, for whatever reason, the last baby is born, no one can have babies anymore, and someone has a baby and they have to protect it, and they're running all over the place trying to protect this child and get it to the right place to figure out how this woman was able to have a child in this society where fertility has come to an end? I think that's that movie, which made me think of movies. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like, we start having more babies. They're like, hey, stop having babies. Then the fertility rate slows down. Then all of a sudden it's a problem. So I don't know. Be aware. Walter and his plastic testes. Am I right? Walter, you got to control that plastic, my friend. Let's talk about this Maserati boat. Can we for a moment? It's electric. Yes, it is. It's kind of cool. I think it's electric. Let me make sure before yeah. It's an all-electric boat capable of 600 horsepower. It's fast and sleek. It floats, which is what you want to see in a boat. And again, this Maserati boat is electric. I will say it's kind of cool looking. It looks rather Cybertruck-ish in its metallic nature. But what they say is, if you thought electric boats were going to be slower or too heavy to float, you would be incorrect. It's called the Trident, and it's a 30-foot long, all-electric powerboat. It can carry 8 passengers. It's fast. It's buoyant. It's a tender, which is a name for a smaller craft that goes back and forth between a larger ship or yacht. It's used to shuttle passengers to shore most often, and yacht owners have them as an accessory, so, for the fancy people. This tender is battery powered. It can go 43 miles before it requires a charge. It goes 25 to 40 knots, which is about 28 to 46 miles per hour on land. It has a decrease in noise pollution and emissions from gas-powered boats. It's constructed with lightweight carbon fiber in its hull. They made it with an American boat builder called Hodgson Yachts, which is located in Maine, and technology firm Vita Power, which has this proprietary software and hardware that propels the Trident with 2 motors, making a combined 600 horsepower. These electric boats run all day without emitting a single gram of CO2. They eliminate the negative effects of engine noise, fuel slicks, and bilge water on the marine environment, according to Vitapower. So it looks like it's quieter, it's cleaner, it's cool looking. I'll tell you that. That Maserati has designed it with some style and, some pizzazz. So far, electric boats are pretty rare. And here we have one from Maserati. So if you had your yacht and you were looking for a tender, you might want to consider this one. All right, here's the story I promised you. My apologies for this picture. I know it's creepy, but we have to cover the robots with something to make them relatable, So they're growing this skin in a lab. It's self-healing human skin designed to cover robot faces. I'm telling you guys, the future is extremely creepy. I don't know. This Japanese team has this new lab-engineered skin. One day they say it may become a helpful medical tool for cosmetic surgery and other medical purposes as well. They have a detailed study on it in the journal Cell Reports Physical Science. Engineers at the University of Tokyo have developed this method to adhere bioengineered skin grown from human cells onto any surface shape. Existing approaches, they said, often rely on miniature anchors and hooks to attach similar tissues to surfaces, and that can limit the way they're used and make them susceptible for more damage when you try to move the skin from one place to another. But in this case, the researchers got a little smarter about it, and they created these miniature V-shaped perforations in their lab-grown skin to make it extremely flexible. And then they applied collagen gel. And the gel's viscosity normally would prevent it from seeping into tiny incisions, so they used water vapor-based plasma treatment that they usually use it for plastic adhesion processes, but this made the skin more hydrophilic, allowing the collagen to seep into the perforations and bind the skin to its underlying surface, a lot like ligaments. I have to show you the video. I really do. I mean, it's a lot like what you're seeing here, especially over on the left, but I have to show you this video so we can see it move. You guys, I'm super grossed out. I really am. I gotta tell you. Can you see that moving? Look at it. It like smiling and weirdness. I'm telling you what. I mean, this is gonna be great if, it's cosmetic, people that have burn injuries or have suffered some type of degloving injury. This is wonderful. I just put it on robots? You're trying to freak me out? By mimicking human skin ligament structures and by using specially made V-shaped perforations in solid materials, the researchers say they found a way to bind skin to complex structures. The natural flexibility of the skin and the strong method of adhesion mean the skin can move with the mechanical components of the robot without tearing or peeling away. It's got improved stickiness. The slimy sheen, they say, is more than a little gross, but it's potentially disastrous for lab-engineered skin. I don't know. Yeah. They have to keep it completely sterile. And they say if bacteria enters, the tissue will die. So they've got to be really careful with it. And in order to demonstrate it, the team attached their living skin layers to a 3D facial model of a human. You can see there on the screen. As well as a small 2D face with robotic actuators. Not only did the skin effectively adhere to the rounded features of a human head, but it withstood manipulation using the actuators as they formed a rudimentary smiling face, which is the video that we just saw. I don't even, there are no words. No words. They say they think creating a thicker, more realistic skin can be achieved by incorporating sweat glands and sebaceous glands, pores, blood vessels, fat, and nerves. Whether or not it's something for a human or a robot, though, we don't know. I'm going to the chat because I have to know what you guys think about this. Westworld is coming. Gross. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about it. Self-healing skin on a robot like the Terminator? Kind of, right? VA Ware says, I'm okay with it for medical purposes, but please do not put human skin on a robot. Heather says it looks like a blobfish, and she is exactly right. VA Ware says it's grinning like it knows it's going to destroy humankind. Bye, Heather. Have a great meeting. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Wes says new tech always gets used for the prawn first. Just wait and see. Oh, God. No, no, no. VA Ware says Wes and the Japanese will invent it first. That it's true. Yeah. So there you have it. The interesting robot skin, which could have some good medical implications for humans. I don't know. Here's another story, though, about moms, and it makes a lot of sense to me. The study says that moms who mess around on smartphones can affect the language of their children, the development of language. Mothers, they say, tend to speak less to infants when they're on their smartphones. The moms that were tampering with their phones talked 16% less to their babies when they were fiddling on the smartphone. Makes sense. Instead of singing to your baby or talking in hushed tones, if you're looking at your phone or you're reading, there's quiet in the room. If you have shorter 1 to 2 minute intervals of phone use, that interfered, they say, with mom-baby interaction even more, decreasing a mother's baby talk by 26%. Researchers at the University of Texas at Austin say they have advice for new parents. Be cognizant of the impact that phones can have on your ability to be attuned to your child's needs. It's critical for infants to have constant and responsive care, which can be more difficult with the alluring, consuming nature of the smartphone. And this isn't the only research, they say, that has shown the use of smartphones could affect a child's language development. Most of the other studies involved observing parents and children in controlled lab experiments. But these researchers wanted to know how parents interact with their babies in the real world. So they strapped audio recorders onto infants for a week. And then they looked at the recordings against the cell phone logs to see how smartphone use influenced the amount that the moms talked with their babies. And they said they're surprised by the overall quantity of phone use across the participants. The sample had an average of 4.4 hours of phone use over a 12-hour period. Other studies show comparably high rates of phone use as well. Seeing the numbers, particularly on the higher end, were still pretty striking. And they say the smartphone use caused a reduction in the mom's verbal interactions with babies, particularly if they were using the phones in short intervals, which you would think if you were on the phone for a long period of time, it would be worse. But they say it might be because short-term phone use involves nonverbal activities like checking your email or texting, where the long-term phone use would involve phone or video chat conversations that would then increase the amount of speech that a child hears, right? So if you've got it on speakerphone and you're talking to somebody for 20 minutes, the child is still hearing words that they need to hear to help develop their language. But it's those shorter things, check your email really quick, check your Facebook really quick, and you're not talking to your baby. So they said and this is interesting too. What's more is that the effect of phone use on speech between a mother and infant became pronounced at specific times of day, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., noon to 1, and 3 to 4. This is all in the Journal of Child Development. Those times, by the way, coincide with the periods during which moms are interacting more with their kids at meal times when siblings are coming home from school or from daycare. So, yeah, bottom line is don't underestimate the impact that using your phone has on your infant. And lastly, we talk about this rare banknote. Look at that $500 bill. This is a banknote from the 1930s, and apparently it's really rare. Very, very rare. This $500 banknote from the 1930s is going to be auctioned off. According to Hanson's Auctioneers, it was printed 90 years ago. It's part of a major collection of rare USA notes uncovered in Wales. William Hayward, a coin banknote valuer at Hanson, said this $500 bill is rare for a number of reasons. Just having a $500 bill in your pocket in 1934 would have been very unusual. But it's also unusual because it hasn't been redeemed. There's still legal tender. $500 is still $500 at the end of the day. Now, the United States no longer issues bills in larger denominations. $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 bills. We don't do that anymore. But there are still some of them in circulation, and this $500 bill was discontinued by Congress in 1969, and the U.S. hasn't printed one since 1945. These notes were most often used for land or property purchases back in the day. Based on inflation, this 1930s $500 bill would be worth $11,619 today. So the auction at Hanson's Auctioneers in Derbyshire is taking place today, as a matter of fact. They think the price of this $500 bill is going to be between $1,000 and $1,260. So we'll see how it goes. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a $500 bill in person. So, well, I think we've had it all today, my friends. I mean, we've really have hit it. We've had robot skin. We've had chicken masks. We've had blue animals. Chicken masks. Double lotto winners. Fancy electric boats. I mean, come on. $500 bills. This has been a great show. Thank you for being part of it. Please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button. If you can share one of the short videos that I'll post in about within the next few minutes, please do it. I would love to help the show grow, and I would love your support in doing so. Huge thank you to Wes for helping crowdfund this after party live and helping keep it alive. Really appreciate that. And to everyone who contributes via PayPal and spends time, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Trivia Thursday tomorrow. So I'll see you on the Nikki Maduro show. I'll see you on the Mark Thompson show, where we have David Katz on the show tomorrow. And then back here for Trivia Thursday. I hope you have a really good day. Make it a good one, and I'll see you back here on YouTube tomorrow. For now, bye-bye, everyone.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
This is my favorite comment of the day. Yay! Hi, little one.